This is Kevin. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Kevin. This is Rose. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Rose.
Hi. I'm just
Let's
gonna
go ahead and get started. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Kevin Lee. I am the Assistant Vice President of Grant and Program Management in the ConnectALL office at New York State's Empire State Development. My pronouns are he and him. I am wearing a navy suit with a white dress shirt and a skinny black tie. If we can move to the next slide. I want to welcome all of the attendees. Thank you for joining this forum on the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program. This session will be recorded. Both the recording and slides will be shared after the session. We'll do Q&A in this session. Any questions that we do not get to live, we'll make sure to follow up. And at the end of the session, I'll make sure to provide an email address for you guys to email any questions that you may think of after this forum. So to review the agenda for today, my colleague and I will be providing an overview of the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program. We'll get into property eligibility. We'll also review how to participate as a housing owner. And then we'll leave time at the end for a Q&A and to go over next steps. If you have any questions as we go through the slides, please feel free to put them into the chat box. We'll be keeping track of the questions. Today, we are joined by our colleague at the New York State Division of Housing and Community Renewal, Becky Kepnick, Chief Strategy Officer for Portfolio Preservation. Let me just pause here and turn it to Becky for her to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. As Kevin said, I'm Becky Kepnick, and I oversee the Office of Housing Preservation here at HCR, which includes our portfolio of projects we have financed, which is how I'm involved in this broadband initiative. And it's nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Becky. If we can go on to the next slide. As a part of her 2022 State of the State address, Governor Hochul announced the $1 billion plus ConnectALL initiative, the largest ever investment in New York's 21st century infrastructure. This initiative will deliver affordable internet access to millions of New Yorkers, bolster digital equity, and transform the state's digital infrastructure through new investments. We can go on to the next slide. I'd like to remind everyone that this session is part of the ConnectALL's ongoing stakeholder forum series. For the latest updates and information on this series, please visit our official website at broadband.ny.gov. Additionally, you can find details about upcoming forum dates and other related events on the website. And if we can go on to the next slide. So we shall start with an overview of the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program. Let me turn it over to Becky to talk about the lack of broadband infrastructure and access in affordable housing rental units in New York State.
Thanks, Kevin. As you can see on the slide here, one of our partner organizations, NYSAPA, has done a great amount of work looking at broadband infrastructure and sending out surveys to folks like you all about broadband access, as of a bunch of other entities. So as you can see, more than a third of New York households with incomes below $35,000 a year do not have broadband access. And fewer than half of households don't have a choice in their broadband provider. In addition to availability of broadband services, affordability is a critical issue, as we all know, with the majority of addresses not having access to broadband, and most so not having access to broadband, but even when the broadband is available, the monthly median cost for broadband is $76 per month for an unbundled and about $90 for a bundled service. And this can be upwards of 5% of a family's income, which, as you all know, as housing providers, is not something that a lot of households, especially those who live and are relying on affordable housing or vouchers, can afford out of their monthly expenses, which is why this program exists and is such a great opportunity for our housing stock. And I'm going to hand it back over to Kevin, I believe.
Thank you, Becky. And we can go on to the next slide. Here we note the importance of addressing infrastructure and affordable housing to ensure that residents aren't left behind. State data on digital equity needs shows the overlap among populations lacking digital access and resources and living in affordable housing. So what is the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program? AHCP is a significant initiative that will improve broadband access for 100,000 affordable housing rental units that currently have unreliable, unaffordable, or non-existing internet service options. With an allocation of $100 million dedicated to bringing broadband to affordable housing properties and retrofitting internal wiring and infrastructure to support high-speed service. By subsidizing infrastructure upgrades to create initial or open access building wiring, the ConnectALL office will be able to attract internet service providers to affordable housing properties that do not yet have consumer choice for affordable monthly service. New York State's investment will increase affordable service options for residents, connect affordable housing buildings to statewide infrastructure, and attract ISPs interested in expanding their service in New York State and to attract new customers. If we can move on to the next slide. So the New York State was awarded this grant by the U.S. Department of Treasury earlier this year, and Treasury funding must be spent by 2026. The program is structured to provide grants to ISPs directly to meet this timeline. And it's also designed to allow for economies of scale to maximize the properties served. I would be remiss here not to acknowledge the focus groups convened and the interviews conducted with housing providers earlier this year that helped shape the program design. And let me now turn it back to Becky.
Yeah, so I would just highlight here for everyone that the affordable housing industry has been asking for a program like this for a while. So it's great that we have these federal funds available to us to put broadband in our buildings, to upgrade the broadband in our buildings. And so really encourage folks to, as you're listening to the presentation today, think about the properties that this might make sense for. If you have questions about the broadband piece of it, you can certainly talk to Kevin and his team. But then if you have any more regulatory questions and you're in the HCR portfolio, to please reach out to us because we want to see this be successful. We've all been asking for this for a while, as I asked. And so we want to make this as seamless for all of you as possible. And I'll hand it back over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Becky. And we'll go on to to the next slide. Okay, so the key stages of the program include 1, property participation, 2, application and grant making, and then 3, finally, the infrastructure deployment. This year, again, together with the housing owners on this call, we focused on the program design and the property participation. We are expecting to launch the RFA this quarter, and from beginning late 2023 through 2026, our focus will be on the application, grant making, and property matching. This will be an ongoing process on a rolling basis, where we expect to award our first grants in our first awards in early 2024. And then from 2024 to through 2026, the goal is new infrastructure being deployed. But as with anything that's once and done, we acknowledge how important it is to also include digital resources. So as a part of the Digital Equity Act grant funds, the ConnectALL office will also support on-site digital equity and navigation services, informed by stakeholder engagements. And these include community-based organizations and nonprofit partners, internet service providers, property managers, and residents. So many of you who are on this call with us today. So I want to just say a little bit about the grantee and property matching process and the awarding grants process before we leave this slide. So ISPs and other broadband deployment entities will respond to the request for applications to be considered for deployment funds. Awards will be based upon the infrastructure plans proposed by the applicants, and we'll go through the analysis of the owner interest surveys. Just thank you to the owners who have already completed a survey, and we'll talk more about that in a later slide. The ConnectALL office will identify target regions and develop groups of properties to award to the applicants. And information from priority areas will be published alongside the affordable housing properties map for the applicants to review. So this is a matching process, and with this matching process, there will be consideration of geographic portfolios of affordable housing with the interested owners, with the goal of ensuring that all properties in a property area, including those that are harder and or more expensive to serve, benefit from the program by creating a marketable bundle of a range of property types. Qualified applicants will proceed from property matching to contract negotiation, and then finally to new infrastructure being deployed. If we can move to the next slide, this is property eligibility. I'm on slide 11 now. So the program is for eligible rental properties, units that are regulated affordable. Mixed income properties may be eligible and are encouraged to complete the survey. But and I will repeat this. The AHCP eligible properties are affordable rental housing units, publicly or privately privately owned that are regulated by a government agency. We can move to the next slide on how to participate. Slide 13 now. Okay, so this, the initial interest form has been live for several months on the ConnectALL's office's website. That is, again, broadband.ny.gov. Owner interest, the owner interest survey allows owners to get their properties into the pipeline to be matched with vendors that are ISPs and other broadband deployment entities. If you're an owner on this call, and if you have already completed the survey, we will be in touch soon, and we'll contact you for any additional information that we may need regarding the properties that are being prioritized for matching. Owners will be asked to submit one survey per property. And I think from our office, we just want to say, don't be intimidated by the survey. Support is available. You can visit the website for more information. It is a user-friendly Google form. And again here, the request for application, it will launch this quarter for ISPs and other broadband deployment entities interested in AHCP grant funding. And the survey results, it will be shared with the ISPs. If we can move on to the next slide. Just a quick note on ISP selection. There will be a future forum for ISPs and also a forum for the requests for application. The ConnectALL office will assign property portfolios to successful applicants based on a variety of factors. And these include the property owner survey submission from the previous slide, building type, assess property owner readiness for deployment, geographic location, and other factors. Program participation. And so here, I'm going to just go through the primary responsibilities for both the owners, and I'll touch on a little bit on the vendor as well. For the owners who are on this call who continue to be interested, your primary responsibilities will include designating a primary point of contact for the ConnectALL office and the assigned ISP, provide interior and exterior building access to the vendor as necessary, and enter into an agreement with the assigned ISP. For the vendor responsibilities, they include developing and sharing installation plans with the ConnectALL office and the owner, coordinating all site-based activities directly with the owner, developing a schedule of planned site visits and work, conducting and completing work in a professional manner, and limiting disruption, limiting disruption to residents and communicate planned disruptions with residents as determined in consultation with the owner. Providing ongoing maintenance of the infrastructure and customer support to the owner and residents, and then returning the property or residential unit to the owner and tenant in a broom clean state. And then last, like repairing any damage caused during installation activities. And then just a few more owner responsibilities here. The owners will communicate and coordinate activities directly with the vendor. You'll also have an avenue to communicate with the ConnectALL office should concerns arise during your participation in the program. And then you're responsible for notifying the vendor immediately of any maintenance issues related to equipment, damage to the infrastructure, or service outages as you become aware. We can move on to the next slide here. Now, I would like to turn this over to our consultants at HRNA, and where Melissa Quirk and Shreya Balhara will introduce themselves. But before I do, I really do want to just say again, we have set up an email address. It's ahcp@esd.ny.gov. And it's at the end of this presentation. And we will be sharing both the slides and the recording when we are done here. And should you have any questions now or after this forum, please feel free to email us, and we'll make sure to get back to you. So with that, let me turn it over to Melissa and Shreya for the Q&A and discussion.
Thanks, Kevin. We're really happy to be here with you all today. I'm Melissa Quirk, I'm a principal at HRNA Advisors. I'm joined by Shreya Bahara, Director of Affordable Housing and Broadband at HRNA Advisors. And we are happy to help field some of the questions that you have been submitting and ones that come to mind. So to start out,
could we actually go to the next slide that has some of the questions? Yeah, great.
Great. So to start out, we'll talk about technologies. The solicitation for vendors that the state will select and then have work on affordable housing properties. We'll ask them to propose the technologies that they're going to use. The program, as Kevin has mentioned, is funded by the U.S. Treasury. And so the technologies that they will need to use will be informed by meeting the speed requirement for Treasury. So rather than prescribe, the vendors can propose the technology that they'll use. Moving on to how will tenants afford the broadband service? So as Kevin mentioned, the goal of CAO's programs is to provide affordable internet to residents in the end. This is through providing the infrastructure to ensure that there are high-speed options. The CAO is looking for competitive proposals from internet service providers. And part of that competitive proposal is how affordable the service options would be to the affordable housing residents. This is also a priority of Treasuries as well. And so once again, in the applications, CAO will be requesting information from vendors about how they plan to make their service options affordable to residents. Other types of support for residents. This is a key question, and it's in the forefront of ConnectALL's mission and mind. The Affordable Housing Connectivity Program will focus on the infrastructure, and there'll be other opportunities and funding sources to ensure that residents have the opportunity to engage with community organizations, have chances to seek out tablets and computers, and this ConnectALL office will also be requesting digital inclusion partnerships and plans from the applicants that submit to be the vendors in affordable housing properties. This will be an important feature of whether or not an organization is, qualified and selected and meets the mission of ConnectALL with this program.
Thanks so much, Melissa. A few other questions that have come in through the chat that I'm just going to relay to you if helpful. One is, would this project be subject to Davis-Bacon wages? And if we need to get back to this person later, that's also okay.
Yeah, so I think we're not going to offer an authoritative yes or no on this right now on this webinar, but the program will be funding vendors to do the work in affordable housing properties. And so the money will not be flowing directly to the affordable housing properties. We are relying on the state's guidance on that.
Great, thank you so much. And additionally, is this available to new construction projects? The survey indicates existing buildings.
Currently, the program is designed for retrofits only, there is, such a need in the existing and older housing in New York's affordable housing stock. So at this point, the program is focused on retrofits only, not new construction.
Great. And we are getting quite a lot of questions, which we'll follow up with as well, but I do want to allow the time for maybe a couple more. One is, would residents be required to purchase a service plan from the provider if the housing property is partnered with a service provider for infrastructure improvement? So I think basically yeah, would a resident in the affordable housing building be required to purchase a service plan from the provider that's been selected for this program?
No, so residents will not be required to purchase any service. Residents can choose not to have internet service. They can choose, if there are multiple providers, who they want to have service from. The goal of the program is to bring the infrastructure and ultimately the low-cost service opportunities to the residents' doorsteps, and to make sure that they're informed about the opportunities and, have connections to community organizations that can facilitate, them meeting their needs via their new internet access. But there will be no requirements, and so there won't be, there won't be a restriction on the type of service that a household can receive.
Yeah, thanks so much, Melissa. I'll field the next one. There's one about, can we put in preferences to work with previous vendor ISPs that we've worked with before if we like their rate, service level, etc. So in the survey that will be launched later this week that has more detailed questions, there will be a section where you can, in the last question actually, just share any comments for the CAO and AHCP. And so you could note that there, but please note that if there is an ISP that you want to work with, you would have to be responsible for connecting with them to get them to apply when the RFA launches. And then obviously there's no guarantee that they would be the one selected for your property, because it is also based on overall a matching process and what would be best suited for that. So while we will want to know if you have preferences and try and make that accommodation, there's just no guarantee, but you can let us know in the last question in the new survey that will be launched later this week.
And I'll echo what Shreya said about letting CAO know if there are service providers that you're interested in working with. It's valuable information to know the service providers that have been providing high quality, high speed service reliably in affordable housing already.
And then there's a question about, can HUD or HPD affordable housing sites participate, or only NYS HCR supervised buildings? HUD and HPD affordable properties can also participate. And there are specific details that we'll have in the survey in terms of which programs are usually seen as eligible subsidy programs, and there are HUD and HPD related ones that are listed there as well.
If there's a question when you're filling out the survey about whether or not you understand whether your property may be eligible, we encourage you to fill it out regardless. And we, ConnectALL will follow up.
Great. And I think, Melissa, there's just a follow-up for you in terms of some more clarity and something that you responded about. Lisa asked that we provide free Wi-Fi in our building, but it's a bit sketchy as far as connectivity to all apartments. I was thinking this broadband was free for residents from what I just heard from Melissa, though there will be a cost to residents. As she, is that understanding correct? I just want to give you a chance to clarify that for.
Yeah, so to go over what this program covers is the capital dollars for infrastructure to build out to each of the units to ensure that there is that reliable service and that you're not actually relying on the sketchy free Wi-Fi, as you put it. And the service provision is separate. The ongoing cost of that is something that CAO expects to get proposals from vendors who are interested to provide competitive, affordable rates. But the ongoing service is not subsidized as part of this AHCP program.
Great. I think you were able to get to Lisa's question. Thank you for the clarification. There's also a question, so there'll be more information on the webpage, so I don't want to get too bogged down in the details, but there's a general question. So there are some detailed questions right now about like, how does the matching process work? What are, specific types of wiring that's included or not included? But I think some general questions might just be helpful to tackle right now, which is who owns the equipment once it is installed?
So at this point, the ConnectALL office is looking for proposals from vendors that will specify whether the vendor owns the equipment, whether they are interested in having the state play a role. That has not been 100% determined and will be determined on a case-by-case basis. What is not what we can say about that is that the building owner is not responsible for this. The solicitation that ConnectALL will put out will hold the vendor responsible for making sure that the equipment is up to date and running, not the building.
Great. And there's one more general question about whether this infrastructure improvement would cover all areas of housing, including staff use areas in addition to the resident units, or what that might, yeah.
It's an excellent question. ConnectALL's vision is to ensure that the units have connectivity, but certainly while creating the infrastructure to the units, it's an opportunity for service elsewhere in areas of the building that residents use. So once again, the ConnectALL office will be asking for proposals that relate to this. This is, though, a good reason to fill out the owner interest survey, because we will ask questions about whether there's common space, whether there's currently Wi-Fi in that common space, whether there's a community room, whether there is leased space that a community organization is providing services for building residents in. And the more information that this ConnectALL office has on those areas of your property, the better it will be able to select proposals and vendors that have the capability to provide service throughout the building.
Great. Thanks so much, Melissa. I want to be mindful of time as well. As I shared, we're taking note of these questions, and we can also follow up specifically in relation to more specific questions about buildings, etc. But I think those are a pretty good overview of the general questions.
Yeah, and I'll say a few things before we move on, just regarding broadband affordability. Just under this affordable housing connectivity program, we plan to address affordable internet in a few ways. One is we will work with ISPs committed to providing affordable service and who are participating in the federal Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP. The ACP is a benefit program administered by the Federal Communications Commission to reduce costs of broadband through a monthly discount of up to $30 towards internet service for eligible households, and a one-time discount of up to $100 for a device, laptop, tablet, or desktop computer. We will also be encouraging broadband deployments that include open access networks that allow for competition and lower cost consumer option. And three, we will encourage ISPs to offer affordable internet packages without bundling other services, like, for example, phone or cable, like even before the application of an ACP discount. So thank you for that. Thank you, Melissa and Shreya. And if we didn't get to your question today, please do email us at ahcp@esd.ny.gov. I think we can, we have just a few more slides to wrap up. This slide here is on next steps. So both the slides and the recording from today's session will be shared with everyone who attended, and we will also post the recording and the notes on the broadband.ny.gov website. If you haven't already, please participate in the owner interest survey. We provide a link here, and if you need any support, please feel free to reach out. You have our contact information here. I'll leave it on for just one more second. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This concludes the stakeholder forum for the Affordable Housing Connectivity Program.